Now for Global Business Updates, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning to all our viewers. Let's move quickly because of the time. Let's begin with inflation in the United States. It cooled in June, year on year, and also month on month. What do Americans care about? Americans care about cost of living, cost of childcare, prescription drug prices, and also jobs, and whether or not wages are rising. We saw those reflected in the inflation figures, with particularly energy prices coming down. I watched Joe Biden's press conference yesterday, 8 minutes of prepared speech, 50 minutes of unscripted questions, and he talked about inflation and other economic metrics. So if you look at the numbers specifically for inflation, you will see that 3% number for June. May was 3.3%. The forecast was 3.1%. We haven't seen 3% inflation since June of 2023, and particularly for the month-on-month number, a decline, an actual decline of minus 0.1%. The forecast was for an increase of 0.1%. We have not seen numbers like that since the pandemic, particularly May of 2020. Move to Donald Trump. Again, Americans care about cost of living. Forecasts have been done considering his tariff and immigration plans. Donald Trump wants to cut taxes if he gets back in office. The existing Trump tax cuts, I believe, expire in 2025. Biden, if he's reelected, will not actually keep those tax cuts. Trump says in order to make up for those tax cuts, make up for the revenue shortfall, he wants to have a 10% across-the-board tariff on imports from across the globe, particularly on China, 60%. The Wall Street Journal carried out a survey, business forecasters, economists, academia, and they asked them, who would inflation rise by higher margin under which particular president, Trump or Biden? According to the survey, 56% said Trump, 16% said Biden, because you know Biden already has an existing Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act, and also the Build Back Better plan. Here's a quote from Bernard Baumol. He is the chief global economist at the Economic Outlook Group. He said, I think there is a real risk that inflation will re-accelerate under a Trump presidency that would likely lead the Fed to raise rates higher than a scenario where inflation continues its downward trajectory. Let's get to Nigeria. We've been talking a lot about the recapitalization exercise. We looked at GTCO, their facts behind the figures. We looked also at Access Holdings PLC. Now, Zenith Bank has not announced a raise, but they did have a capital markets day yesterday where they were talking to basically investors and the capital markets at large about how far the bank has come. So, you know, this SEC is yet to approve their capital raise. That information will be coming forward. Here is Dr. Adaora Umeoji, who, of course, is the Group Managing Director and CEO of Zenith Bank.
We have also established a fintech subsidiary called ZenPay, and we are going to use that to drive more profitability to the bottom line. We have branches in the UK, Ghana, Gambia, Sierra Leone, and rep office in UAE and China. Recently, we got a license for operation in the Paris region. The bank is looking at expanding into the Cameroon, Côte d'Ivoire, and as well exploring other African countries and beyond. As our chairman and founder, Dr. Jimovia, CFR, rightly mentioned in his book, African Rise and Shine, Africa is a continent of abundant human and natural resources, immense and diverse opportunity, and an economy is primed for leapfrogging strategies. Zenith Bank, we are determined to take advantage of these opportunities in all the African countries and beyond.
All right, to round off, a report from the Bureau of Statistics. And, I think Rufai should like this one because Rufai talks about corruption a lot. Corruption in Nigeria, patterns and trends. You heard Adefemi talking about the former power minister, quote-unquote, collapsing outside his 33 billion naira trial, being arraigned by the EFCC. If you look at this report, which is a collaboration rather, between the Bureau of Statistics and the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, what are priorities as far as Nigerians are concerned? Where does corruption lie? It's in the top 5, but it was pretty close. So if you look at the most important problems Nigerians say they are facing, a high cost of living, 22.6%. Crime and insecurity, 19%. Unemployment, 13%. Corruption at 10.9%. Healthcare at 10.8%. How much did Nigerians pay, in particular in bribes, is what this report was looking at, as well as a slew of other metrics as far as marking corruption and bribery in Nigeria. 721 billion naira in 2023. Of course, in inflation-adjusted terms, it comes out to less than what it was in 2019 because inflation has been so high. And then finally, if you look at contact rates, this is the rates at which the average Nigerian came into contact with someone asking for a bribe over the last 12 months. Your yellow bar is 2016, your green bar is 2019, your blue bar is 2023. To the far left of your screen, Nigeria as a whole saw an increase in contact rates from 52% in 2016 to 63% in 2019. It came down to 56% in 2023. Across the line, you will see it by geopolitical zones. The Southwest was actually higher. If you look at the rates there, followed by the South-South. Perhaps it's because the Southwest is more commercial activity, but the report did find that Nigerians are more bold about not paying bribes. They are reporting them more. Men are more likely to not only ask for bribes, but receive them compared to women. And funny enough, more highly educated people are more likely to engage in paying out bribes in order to fast-track a number of processes that they need done. So it's a very good report. I encourage everyone to read it. That's our update for today.
Corruption has always been a big problem in this country, and we all know it. And I'm not surprised about the humongous cost that goes in corruption. And Rotus, in fact, I'll even shock you by saying it may be higher than that cost. Then the question is, how can we stop the culture of that corruption that is pervasive in our country as we speak today? And I'm not surprised. 721 billion, I'm sure is way higher, you know. And for the man that was fainting, why is it that, I'll ask you, why is that is when they catch them for corruption or they have case in court, they used to faint? Why? They should take their health seriously. I hope it's better.
It's the pressure,
Okay.
The pressure was getting worse, as the language of the street would say. But I'm talking about corruption because obviously, Rotus, that's a big topic. But under that report by the National Bureau of Statistics, they actually said, and this is worrying because it ties into unemployment and other factors. We talk about incompetence in some public sector organizations, that 60% have been found to be employed as a result of either nepotism or bribery. It means that 6 out of 10 people who are employed into public sector organizations, six out of them, either they know somebody, that's 27% of them by using bribery, whilst 13% by nepotism, while combination of both bribery and nepotism is 19%. That is a big deal because yesterday we're speaking about...
And Ayo, the productivity impact of that stat you just mentioned.
Yes,
we're talking about minimum wage now.
Yes.
Let us think productivity.
Spot on.
Okay, very quickly. Yesterday was Anti-Corruption Day, which was declared by the African Union in July 2003. And there were, marches, demonstrations in commemoration of that day in different parts of Nigeria. Makurdi, Abuja, Ilorin, Benin, Port Harcourt, So it's good that you have brought this subject. So draw attention again to the need, for Nigeria to worry about corruption, which has taken so much from our revenue in terms of mismanagement. The second issue, in the UK Financial Conduct Authority has rewritten the rules for listings in the stock market in the UK, because in the last year they lost up to about 40%. And now they have reclassified listings, not standard and premium. They've eliminated that. Any company that wants to list in the UK will just be listed as commercial companies. And what they are trying to do is to do the same thing as you have in the US. You remember ARM, the high-tech company, left UK to go to the US for its own listings. Finally, the third plenum of China, they're meeting next week. And what they will be focusing on will be modern China, commercialization, manufacturing, not retail. It will be interesting to see what the Politburo comes up, or if you like, the Congress of the Communist Party comes up with next week, beginning Monday to Thursday. So that's looking ahead in that regard. Thank you very much.